everyone. It is Saturday, February 21st, 2015. I still really have to get used to saying that date. When I was practicing, I said January instead of February, even though it's been February for 21 days. I do that. I don't know if any of you guys have that problem, but I definitely have that problem. As you can see, my Sincerely t-shirt came in. This was a campaign by Stephen Amell. All of the proceeds go to Pause for Stripes and Stand for the Silent, which are two charities that work for veterans and mental illness and everything like that. And they're really great campaigns, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. You should definitely check those out. He might be doing a second batch of shirts. It has not been formally announced yet, but if he does and you want to get a shirt, make sure to check that out. Follow his Facebook page, his Twitter, and he'll give you all the information. Now on to writing. That was my little extra spiel. I didn't really have anything novel specific to talk about today, so I thought I would answer some kind of frequently asked questions. Nobody had commented any specific questions they had for me, so I just kind of Googled some on author's page that I've never heard of, but she seems pretty cool. You should check her out. Do you have any advice for beginning writers? I'm kind of still a beginning writer, even though I have self-published a book. I still think of myself as kind of figuring out the ropes, obviously. But for people who want to start writing, just find a story you're passionate about and write for yourself first, not for the market and not for any other people, not for anything else. Don't write to get published. If you're writing to be famous or to get published, you're not going to have fun and you're not going to be nearly as successful while doing it. Another piece of advice is it's totally okay to fail. While Forced was kind of technically the first novel I really started, not counting ones I wrote in, elementary school. And yes, it was the first one I started, and yes, it was the first one I published, but in between then and now, I started another 7 books, before what I'm working on now, which I really think I know is the book that I'm going to dedicate the next 2, 3, 4 years of my life to and see through to the end and see through to publication. And some of those books that I started in between are good and I might return to one day when I'm in a different frame of mind and place in my life, but some of them I may never return to, and that's okay, because you learn something from every start, every failure, and as long as you're learning something and you're having fun while you're doing it, that's all that matters. And if you don't ever see them through to publication and those stories never see the light of day, that's totally fine. So those would be my 2 biggest pieces of writing advice, and definitely specifically make sure you're enjoying what you're writing. I'm not the type of person who believes that you need to push through to the end of a manuscript just because. I think you should be enjoying what you're doing at that time, and if you're not enjoying it, stop and start something else. What is your writing routine? How do you discipline yourself to keep at it? I had a lot of trouble getting into a writing routine, and still right now I don't really have a set routine, just the fact that I am writing every day. That was kind of I didn't really have specific New Year's resolutions, but I guess that was kind of a side thing that I was really thinking about, and that's why, as you guys probably already know, last month I decided that I was going to write 10,000 words by the end of the month and make it to 15,000. And I was, as a subset of that, I was also going to write every day. And I really sat down and dedicated and got used to doing it. And just like any other type of routine, the more you do it and the more you get used to it, the easier it is to keep doing it. And I got to the point now, especially, where I don't want to stop writing every day. I don't really have a set time I write because my schedules are kind of so off. I think when I have, like after college, when I have a job and I have, a house and whatever, and I can actually make a schedule, but my schedule isn't the same every day, so I can't write at the same time every day. This is clearly going to be a slightly longer video. I'll try and go through. Do you write every day? Yes, I just said that. How do you begin a novel? It's kind of different. It's been different with each story. Sometimes I just kind of dive in. I always do a little bit of planning. I figure out like main character names and very brief main character names, a little bit about those characters, and very basic plot outline. Sometimes I plan out a lot more than that. Slipping away, I planned for a month and a half before I started writing because I needed to do a lot of research into the diseases and do everything like that. Other stories like Forced to Be a Traitor, I just started that day the second I thought of it. So there's no really subset, but I do typically start at the beginning, but where my ideas come from and how I start each time is very different. There's a book I wrote, well, it's not a full book, but Rebels, and that started when I had an idea about the main character names. I just kind of got that in my head, and then other things have been different like that. So, yeah, sorry I'm talking a lot. Do you go through a lot of drafts? Hard to answer because I haven't finished a story, but usually yes. To what extent is your fiction autobiographical? I use different points from my life to kind of help out with things and help out with character personalities. I sometimes go off of general things about myself. Like, there's always a little bit of me in each and every character, but no character is exactly me. No character is exactly another person, or anything to that extent. A lot of your settings are places I can't find on a map. Do they exist? I really like to use fictional locations, or at least fictional cities, but in actual states, so that you know generally where they are, but I can make up my own rules and design the town how I want to design it and not have to worry about, like, if I say there's 20,000 people and it turns out there's 10,000. Like, if I want the town to have a certain size, I can make it whatever I want. So I like using fictional towns. And I also just like the idea of a world that comes to life in your imagination and is, in a way, real to the reader, real to the writer, being fake but real at the same time. And I really play with that in my current story. I use a paper town name as the name of the city or town, whatever. So I won't tell you which paper town, but I do use a paper town, and so that's really cool. If you don't know what those are, look them up. They're really interesting. I'll skip that. Skip that. Who are your favorite authors? Okay, on with us. I have a lot of favorite authors. I really love John Green, J.K. Rowling, Rick Riordan, Ridley Pearson, David Barry, Darren Shan. I'm trying to think who else I really like. Jay Asher, he's really good. Trying to pick my favorites off the top of my head. Those are the ones I think of most quickly. Neil Susterman, he's also really good. All right, I think that's a lot of questions answered. I hope that kind of told you a little bit more about me and a little bit more about my writing. You can't tell out wrong hand. You can't tell out the window because it's dark, but it's still snowing. We've gotten, I'm really not sure, 2-3 inches of snow so far. Let me know what it's like near you. Hope everyone's doing all right and they're safe in this weather. If you are somewhere tropical and warm, I am very jealous of you. All right, videos won't always be this long, but I hope it was interesting. Talk to y'all later.